Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today we will be talking about the Game Boy Advance SP, and throughout the series I will be going through every component one by one and how to fix the issues that you may have with these components. Today's subject is the power switch. So there is a known problem with the Game Boy Advance SPs, and it is that the power switch kind of gets dirty over time. Either it's the dust or grime, or it could literally be the finger, the oils that you have in on your fingers and such, or if you've, I don't know, touched something dirty, right? And these issues basically make it so that you turn on your console and it may just turn on fine. But if you somehow touch the power button or the power switch, whatever, it may just turn off your console because it loses the metal bit that connects both sides of the pads just simply disconnect, and then your console loses power. And this might happen to you in the middle of a gaming session, or it might just happen randomly as you were just moving the console around, right? So here we have the motherboard of the console. Again, just for reference, this is how the console would look like, right? Then you have the power switch right here. For this particular occasion, I have a motherboard that already has this problem, so I will demonstrate the issue and then it will solve it as well. So this is how the console looks like, only with the bottom shell, let's say. We have a battery in here. This one does not have a charging port since I removed it so that I can replace it with a USB Type-C. But for this particular demonstration, this charging port is unnecessary since the battery is already charged. So what would happen is basically when you turn on the console, as you can see, it's green and it's perfectly fine. So right now, you could, if you had any games and if you had the display, you would be seeing that the console boots up normally. But as you can see, if you actually just touch and play with the power switch a little bit, as you can see, I didn't actually switch this off, but it turned off right before I did that. That's because the pins that are in the power switch are not allowing the two pads to connect, which is what allows the let's say the processor to get the power from the battery and boot up the console, right? So let's take a look at, let me just, yeah, all right. So let's take this battery out. Let's take the motherboard out slowly. Great, we can get rid of this bottom section here. Perfect, and take a look at the motherboard. So this is the said power switch. This is how it looks like here. As you can see, it doesn't really look dirty at all because most of the dirt is actually inside. My assumption is that the way that it gets in is probably around these sides over here and these sides, and as you turn this from one side to another, I believe the dirt basically is able to get inside. But yeah, we're gonna be taking this metal shielding off. You could technically take it entirely out, but I would not recommend doing that because I believe it's kind of difficult to put it back in place. I mean, it's relatively difficult. It's not too difficult, but I have a better way of doing it. I have seen this done online by other creators as well. But yeah, let's talk about some of the things that you may need for this. I would highly recommend, if you're new at soldering and such, that you should get yourself one of these. I believe these are called arts and crafts pads. These are very thick, and they allow for you to use your solder, let's say, with a little bit of protection on your table and wherever else you're doing it, really. For this particular demonstration, I will be doing it. I will be doing this without, since I have done this before and I know what I'm doing. So yeah, but let's talk about some of the accessories that you may need. As you can see, obviously this is connected to the motherboard, therefore you need to desolder. And for desoldering, you might have one of those either wireless, either wired cheap soldering stations that just come with the pen itself. I like to use these type of soldering stations that come. It's connected, to the outlet, and it has many tips that you can change. I believe this costed me around 60 euros or something similar to that on sale. I will try to leave a link below if you would like to purchase this. It may be an affiliate link, so that I may receive something from the place that's selling it, but I'm not sure how to do that yet, so I will look into it after the filming of this video. Either way, so the soldering station is crucial, obviously, because you need some sort of a metal piece that's going to melt the solder, and you obviously, after you're done cleaning out the component, you will need to solder it back. This particular section that we will be soldering actually does not really impact the functionality of the component, because this is only the shield, the metal shield, that we will be desoldering. Otherwise, I would recommend that you have some tweezers. These are some high precision ones, and this one has a spring-like mechanism where, if you apply some pressure here, it opens up, and then once you relieve the pressure, this one basically holds whatever you put in there, right? So it's great for holding off components and lifting and such. Then obviously you're gonna need some solder to add there, because especially if you're gonna clean it up with the desoldering wick, then you need to solder the component back. Otherwise, we need some flux so that the solder flows better and much easier, let's say. Then I would recommend that you have 90 to 99% alcohol, IPA, so that you can clean the flux afterwards. So I'm going to just turn on my soldering station. I will let it go to temperature. I am currently using 230 degrees. I believe that should be sufficient for what we're about to do here. Otherwise, if you are interested in doing these kind of repairs, you can also get yourself a microscope. So it looks like this. This is a microscope with the stand. I believe I bought this from Amazon. I'm not really sure. I mean, it's pretty good for what you're doing when it comes to these kind of consoles. But anything that goes into stuff like the processors and such, I would recommend getting a higher quality microscope, because you really need to see things clearly when you go there. But for this particular repair video, let's say, with the power switch, I believe you will be perfectly fine, even without a microscope. I don't think you need it. You may want it, but yeah. Either way, all right. Well, let's get started. So I'm just going to take some solder, and I'm going to just dab it up in that corner. I will start with this corner simply because that is my preferred place, let's say. I will try to zoom in the post edit. So basically what we want to do is, actually I'm going to bring this to the camera. What we want to do is, this is where I put the flux, right here. So you can see that there's 2 slots right here, and then there's 2 here. So what I've done is I've put the flux here. Now I'm going to go in with the soldering, soldering station. I'm going to melt that part, and then I'm going to try to put my tweezers right in here, and then I'm going to try to lift this metal plating. As you can see, I should already be able to move this plate, right? So here you go. Yeah, as you can see, this lifts, but because it is connected there, I can't fully lift it. Now, one thing to be careful about here is once you start lifting this, you will see that it will lift at an angle, right? So it's going to be like this, and then it's going to move upwards. And while doing that, you have to be careful to not put too much pressure and not push it too fast, because this part might snap off. And if it snaps off, then that means that you cannot use this power switch again because of what I said earlier. This shielding needs to make enough pressure so that those pins that we're going to see inside in a minute touch the pads and connect them. Like they are, I believe, like a rainbow sort of shape. But yeah, we will see it. Great. So we got some solder in the tip. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get in there where we have just applied some flux. So I'm going to just let the solder flow a little bit with the flux. Cool. Then, as I mentioned, I'm going to put in the tweezers. I'm going to start lifting. And applying some heat at the solder joints. And sometimes it might take a couple of tries because the way that you're holding the motherboard may determine if you're going to be successful from early on or not. Well, I believe we might not have enough solder since the component does not want to separate. Sometimes these kind of things happen, and I believe it's very important to even show these kind of things so you know what you're dealing with. So the reason why I just stopped and I applied more solder to the tip is if I would just try to take this shield off by applying force, there's a chance that I might actually take that entire component out of its slot and I might ruin this motherboard, right? I mean, is it fixable? Yes. Do you want to deal with it? I highly doubt it, right? So I believe it's important to be very patient, and whenever something is not going your way, just to take a step back and think about what may be going wrong. I believe there's enough flux in there, but I think I will apply, I think this solder that I just applied should be good. I'm going to put my ring finger on the charging port so that I have some leverage so that I can pull this with the tweezers up. So let's go and let's try. I'm gonna put the tweezers in place. Then I'm gonna go in with my solder and try the same thing again, but this time hopefully we will be successful. I will also use my middle finger to hold the other side of the board. Let's see. All right, I believe it's starting to let go a little bit, but we will see. Oh, the motherboard is running from me. All right, okay, let's try to put something heavy on the opposite side of the board. Of course, you can use other things. I like to use these kind of household objects to just hold. I know that there are things that you can use where you know, it's made for soldering and such, but I don't really like to waste my money on those kind of products because those are very one-dimensional. I think this is going to do just fine. You can just put that on the board. I specifically chose the charging port because I don't think there is anything that is crucial there. So if I apply any pressure, I don't think that you know, the console doesn't work or something. But yeah, you get the idea. So I'm going to apply some heat again to this side. Then I'm going to try to lift the other side. Again, gentle. There's no need to make too much pressure. Let's see. I can see the solder melt, but the shield does not want to come off easily. It's okay. Again, as I mentioned, don't force it. Try to move it a little bit. As you can see, my tweezers just went through the shielding. All right. I will apply just a little bit more flux. Again, as I mentioned, the flux allows the solder to flow better. which means that the heat that you apply from one corner of the flux gets easily to the opposite side. So I believe that's a good thing, to allow for these kind of repairs to go a little bit smoother and faster. Cool, great. We got the shielding off, and I did not make too much pressure so that it, you know, flies off and such. So what we have here is basically, as you can see, the shielding is out from the slot that it was staying in. Now you actually get to see the plastic part, right? So what we're going to try to do is put our finger on this, the opposite side right here. We're going to put our finger, and then we're going to start erasing the metal shield very gently and slowly. This is a very, very thin piece, therefore you want to be very, very gentle. All right, and I would say this much range is quite enough. So now what you would like to do is to take this component over here, be very gentle, because this is a very, I mean, it's a plastic component, and if you break it, it's very difficult to get a replacement. So this is how it looks like, and as you can see, it has this, the metal pin inside, and that is actually what this component basically does. You have this thing, right? So this pin and this pin. I will show you how it looks like inside the component. So once you move the shielding a little bit to the side, you will see how it looks like inside. As you can see, it's quite dirty. Those are supposed to be golden pins, right? But as you can see, there's a lot of black, I don't know, let's call it gunk or dirt, whatever what you would want to say. So what we want to do now is to clean this inside part, and then we can, I've seen people clean the tip of the pins as well. I don't think you want to do that because it has a very small plastic thing holding the pin, and if you somehow break that, again, you will make it so that the component will be useless. So how I would like to clean this is, I take one of these cotton swabs, and then I would like to take, I forgot what these are called, but anyway, it has a sharp bit, right, so that you can cut things. I like to cut this as an angle, and once you do that, you will basically have this little cotton swabs, the harder part, right? Because you can try to clean with this, but you're not going to do a great job because this the tips of these cotton swabs are way bigger than the component itself, so you might actually damage it by applying too much pressure. Then I'm going to take our alcohol. I believe this is a makeup remover bottle. It's like you make some pressure here, and then some liquid comes out. In this case, it's the IPA that I've put in here. It's 99%. So now what you would like to do is to take this tip and then gently rub it in there. And as you can see, it's so much cleaner already. And I will show you how it looks like on the tip as well. So that's all the dirt that's in there. So once you clean this, just rub it a couple more times, you will be able to see that the golden pins are basically brand new, right? Yeah, so just for the sake of this video, I'm going to also show you how I clean these. I generally just rub the tips very, very gently, just because you should just let alcohol do its thing. If you put any pressure, this thing in the middle, that right there, that's going to pop off. And if it does, it's very difficult to put it back in. And even if you do, it doesn't really stay like how it used to. So I would recommend not touching that much. It's a very, very gentle component. So I'm going to put this face down. Then I'm going to grab it from the top. And then I am going to put it back inside. It doesn't matter in what. Oh, all right. It just jumped out. Cool. Let's try it one more time. It doesn't really matter how you put it. It doesn't have a a default position or such. The important part is that it's in and it does not come out. All right, I guess it does not want to go in that well. Well, we will try a couple more times. Okay. Now that looks like it's in. Perfect. Now what we would like to do is to solder this back, right? So I would recommend you can get something like that again, right? Like the tape holder. You can put some pressure in there if you want or such. I'm gonna have to do it without so that I can show you how it looks like. So in the post, I think I will be able to zoom into here. But basically what you would like to do is to start pressing on the metal shield. Make sure that the plastic bit is in place. And once you apply enough pressure, you should see the metal plating sit exactly how it used to. And you want to hold it like this, right? It's important that you hold it, because if you don't, then again, it's not gonna have enough pressure to be able to have the pins touch the pads. So I've set it in place. Now I'm going to apply a generous amount of flux in there where we have desoldered previously. Then I'm going to take my tweezers, and all right, so I'll just put in some more solder just to make sure that we have enough. Now you see, what I've seen people do is there are a lot of people that just want the solder, in the sense that they get the solder itself and then they put it in there and then they try to solder it that way. I think that works great for people that have experience and are using these helping hands and such. I don't generally like to use those because I don't feel like they're necessary. The way that my soldering station works is if I put the solder on the tip, it just stays there. And whenever I apply it on the component, it generally just leaves enough, in the sense that if it leaves more, I can always take it out, right? But I mean, in situations like these where it's not too precise, like we're not talking about micro soldering here, these are just, or at least I don't think this is micro soldering, but either way, you get the idea. I don't think that you need to be that precise with the amount of solder that you apply, especially since this is not even a functional component. This is just holding the metal shielding, right? So then with the solder on the tip, or if you want to use it, you can just use the solder directly. You want to go back in there, and there are two pads that need to connect. So make sure that you're making enough pressure on the shield so that it sits in place, and make sure that that connection in between the pins and the pads are good. Then once you're done, you want to hold it for just a couple of seconds to make sure that the solder has solidified. And once you're done, it should be all good. Right, let's give it a test. So before doing all of that, I'm going to take the other half of the cotton swab and I'm going to apply some alcohol to it, and I'm going to clean that flux because you would not want to leave flux in a place like this. It might go inside and it might make it all sticky. I think it's very important to just clean. And there's a chance that it might even have gone to the opposite side, because flux, it looks like paste, but then when you apply heat to it, it kind of melts and runs all over the place. Right, let's get the plastic part. Let's put the motherboard in there. All right, and I put it wrong because I forgot that the button is already there. So let's put the motherboard in, and then we can put the button to align with the power button over here. Right there. Oh, okay, I might have confused the consoles. Maybe this is one of those that you need to put the power button in, and then you need to the power switch button. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now we can see that it is clear the moving, and I can see that the button is right in the spot where it's supposed to be. Now let's take the battery, put it in there. Oh, we left it on the on position. All right, let's go. Let's see. As you can see, it turns on, and when I move this, look, until I move the switch back, it does not trigger the red thing. And as you can see, whenever I touch the button and such, it's still on. So there you go. This is how to clean your power switch. It's a quite easy thing to do. I have seen many people recommend that you just apply alcohol at the tip of your cotton swab or such, and then you just rub it against this, let me show you, this button here. They say just put in some alcohol or spray in some and then just move this around. I don't think that's, I think that's a very temporary solution. I think the best way to solve these kind of problems is to do this, right? And if you somehow mess it up in this entire process, you can, I believe, purchase a new power switch from a place like AliExpress and such. I don't think that they're exactly the same, in the sense that I don't think they look exactly the same. I think there's like a little daughter board and then there's a switch on top, so it doesn't look like the original one, but it does the job, right? But yeah, so this is how you do this, and hope you enjoyed the video.